Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
And my name's Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, babe. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, real good,
How
real
you
good.
doing?
Real good. Real thankful for all of our Patreon and Apple subscribers out there and any listener at all because
100%.
this is your weekly free episode. But if there's a hankering for more, you can go get them. And if you're an Apple person, you can get like a free 3-day trial and just binge whatever you want. So
just binge that crap right on up.
yeah. So what have you been up to? Why don't you tell everybody what show you've been absolutely obsessed with?
Oh my gosh. I've been obsessed with Below Deck, Mediterranean.
Every time she's not, looking into a case or something like that, she's got her earplugs in and just like, hey, watching this boat and the bosun. You're talking a lot about bosuns and captains and all sorts of
stews.
Chief stews, yeah.
So I decided I can't watch it before bed because it was giving me nightmares or like being part of my dreams where, oh my gosh, the guests aren't getting served on time and the food, it's not coming. And
probably thinking about making out with all the other chief stews or whatever.
No, it was more about the service for the guests, Mike.
Okay. Hey, who
Sicko.
knows? Who knows?
So yeah, I've been totally obsessed with that, and it makes me want to go and sail in a super yacht on the Mediterranean.
Oh,
if
that's
you
a
can
good
believe
idea.
that.
We should do that.
Yeah, they were in Spain. Now they're in France. We were in Greece for a little while there.
Hey, if we get an extra like 20 or 30,000 patrons and subscribers, it might happen. And then we'll do a podcast from there and tell you guys how it is and all that stuff. We'll be very thankful.
Man, some of their guests are such a handful and such a-holes. And then other ones are just like the nicest, most down-to-earth people. So you just never know.
Of course, the producers and directors don't like those guys because they don't make for good TV.
They like the drama.
Yeah.
So I was thinking today as I was making our bed, and I'm curious to know how often people wash their bed sheets.
Uh-oh.
Because, okay, one time I got a Real Simple magazine article, and it was one of those annoying ones like you should brush your dog's teeth every single day. It's like, who the hell is doing this?
It's like in a perfect life, absolutely, yes. We would like to do all these things, but, you just don't have the time for everything.
So the article was suggesting how often you clean certain items in your house, and they were just completely unrealistic.
It was a perfect scenario.
Yes, like you should be wiping down your blinds on a like week to bi-week basis. Like who's doing that?
Even you, who's a complete clean person, like you might not touch the blinds for a year sometime. Well, every 6 months.
Well, now we don't have any, so that's a moot point. But yeah, I mean, I was probably, like you said, maybe every 6 months or so. And then the whole bedding, they were saying every week you should change your bedding. It's like, yeah, that would be ideal, but I don't do it every week. I mean, honestly, at this point, we might be creeping up to the 4-week mark. I don't know. You guys can judge me. Maybe that's just completely disgusting. You're thinking of dust mites and all those creatures that, you can't see to the naked eye.
Yeah, all those like bugs crawling around in your eyebrows and stuff.
It's just such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, well, in college, I think you mentioned before that I didn't even know you were supposed to clean your sheets.
Oh, your place. You lived in a beautiful brand new townhome with 5 guys?
Yeah.
That place should have been condemned by the end of the school year.
We didn't do a lot of vacuuming. By the end of the year, you could see like a clear dust trail, going down the stairs. It's a carpeted stairs, and you could see the dust on either side. It's like, why is there dust there? It doesn't happen.
It was painful, and the bathroom was like something out of a horror movie. And my friend Jasa, her boyfriend, lived there with Mike, and the poor girl had to actually sleep there. We counted the distance between my place and yours. It was like 250 footsteps away. And we would never stay there because it was a disgusting swill hole. And poor Jasa would have to shower there, basically on her tiptoes, standing in the center of the shower so that she wasn't touching the orange mildew that lined the entire tub.
Why couldn't she stay in her own place?
Because she lived like 45 minutes away, and she would spend the weekend there.
Oh, okay. And you mentioned the bathroom. There were definitely black colored tumbleweeds kind of flowing through. It felt like
pubes.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to quite say that, but you did, and that's okay.
I threw it out there because it's true, and I wonder, even in this time in our life, if I just fell off the side of the earth, how often would you think to clean the bathroom?
I'd probably just burn things every once in a while, and then maybe burn the house down. Just be like, all right, well, we're going to start
afresh.
Buy a new one.
We got to clean that bathroom. We're just going to torch this place.
Exactly. Maybe just redesign it every couple of years.
I mean, this place is going to be in trouble if I die.
Yeah, and how much is an IKEA restructuring of an entire bathroom? Like a few $100 probably. So
no, I'd say a lot more than that, Mike.
Maybe a few thousand, I guess. I don't know. Oh, IKEA IKEA's cheap. That's why I
Yeah,
asked.
well, it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Well, what are you
So,
going to do?
yeah, you don't want to replace your toilet. Just clean it.
Yeah, well, you can like wash the sheets whenever. It is nice laying in fresh sheets. I will say that.
It is. It's just, to strip them off and it's the putting back on.
And
I just hate it.
Somebody that's so like organized like Allison, you would think she has like 3 or 4 sets, but
No.
like we're very basic, which is
Very
it's
basic.
one. We only have one set
We
of
have
sheets.
Literally one set of sheets.
So I'm always
And
laughing at it.
It's always a Sunday, and I'm like, all right, good night. I'm going to bed. Ugh, got to get up for work tomorrow. And then I walk in the room. I'm like, son of a bee. We got to put the sheets on.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is we're disgusting human beings in the Pernecki household.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Anyways, another thing, we went for a nice walk this morning. 4.2 miles, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was fun getting out there before the sun was up in hot Florida. And we were walking by a couple of houses. There was this one house in the other subdivision. The video camera popped on. It's like, you are being recorded.
It was on the truck, right?
No, it was on the house.
The house. It's like, I'm on the freaking sidewalk and I have every right to be. So I basically said out loud, F off.
Yeah, it was like, hope you're recording this. And then the next like everybody has got their cameras because kids like steal stuff out of cars. So I don't know if that's big everywhere, but here in Florida it is. And so the next one had like a camera, and just because we were in a bad mood, like I was thinking like, and then somebody had like their lights like lower than they should be, like the lights on the house. I think they redesigned their house, but like they just put them too low. And I was like, hey, your lights are too low. Just bring them up another couple feet.
And then they had this really tacky orange sign on the front of their house that said, smile, you're being video recorded. And I was like, what a stupid sign. We were really nasty this morning. What was wrong with us?
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're that person in that house, sorry.
Yeah, or you're like, you guys are a-holes.
Right. It wasn't anything personal.
Well, I don't know. We were on a tangent. And normally I'm the mean one and you're the nice one. But today we were both the mean ones.
And that's okay sometimes.
Sometimes it is okay. Especially if you're going to threaten me that you're recording me as I walk on a public sidewalk.
Ooh, you're recording.
Yeah, like I want to do anything to your crappy truck.
Right. So you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do this. All right, so this is a crazy case I have briefly heard mention of once, but I'd never heard it before. So when someone suggested this, I decided to do it. So this is the murder of Bianca Devans, and this is a listener suggestion from Lauren Michelle. So thank you, Lauren. So it was July 14th, 2019, and images of a young woman's lifeless body appeared on various social media platforms, including Discord. And stunned users are looking at these photos, wondering if they were real or a hoax. So 911 calls started coming in from around the country, and one caller actually identified the young woman that was pictured in these images, and this was 17-year-old Bianca Devans. So Bianca Michelle Devans was born on October 2nd, 2001. She was raised in the small city of Utica, New York, and this city sits 245 miles north of New York City. The only reason why I know of Utica is because of The Office. It was where one of their offices, actually Holly, was stationed in Utica.
Okay, I knew it sounded familiar.
So that's why I knew it. So Bianca, she did have some challenges throughout her childhood. She did battle mental illness at an early age, and beginning at age 9, Bianca's mother's Kim, she reached out for help when her daughter began struggling with really bad separation anxiety. Kim noticed that Bianca did not want to leave her side. She didn't want to go to school. It was becoming a struggle. So that's where she got her in touch with a, counselor. So then at age 13, Bianca began to show signs of depression. And as she progressed in her teenage years, Kim noticed that Bianca was isolating herself from others. She was spending more and more time in the confines of her room and online. And with this, her moods and behaviors were becoming increasingly erratic. And according to Kim, her daughter was very intelligent. She was intuitive. She was in tune with what was going on in her own body. So it wasn't just Kim noticing these things. Bianca also recognized that something was going on inside her and that she really did need help. So they did seek additional help. And at age 16, Bianca was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And the main feature of this serious mental health condition is a strong pattern of instability in a person's relationships, self-image, or emotions. There could be rapid changes in moods that can happen and last a few hours to even a few days. And a person with this diagnosis can experience issues of self-harm, impulsivity, fear of abandonment, and feelings of emptiness. Bianca was estranged from her father. She did struggle to make friends. I'm sure there was a lot that was going on under the surface emotionally that made it harder to make friends. But thankfully, with treatment, she did eventually return to her usual happy self, and she returned to being the devoted big sister to Olivia and Maddie. So, to cope with her struggles, Bianca often turned to her computer, where she truly immersed herself in the online world. Her mother, Kim, felt that she was able to basically escape her own mental struggles while utilizing various social media platforms. Bianca was very prevalent on social media. She morphed into an online persona. And I don't know, you can tell me if you've ever heard this terminology, an e-girl.
No.
There's a lot of terms in here that I really don't know because I'm not hip to the online world.
Yeah, and I do a lot of social media stuff, so I can guess what it is, but I'd love for you to tell us.
So an e-girl spends time online and they have a certain look to them. They're more edgy, maybe a dark aesthetic.
A little like emo type thing.
Yeah. So she began to grow her followers on 4chan. That was something I had never heard of.
Yeah, I know that.
Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, and Discord. So 4chan, because I didn't know what it was, I looked it up. It's a simple image-based bulletin board where users can share images and post comments. However, according to a writer for Rolling Stone, this is E.J. Dixon, she said that 4chan can truly be a very dangerous, dark, and misogynistic space.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like they call each other bad stuff all the time. It's kind of like a cesspool of the internet.
Why would you go there?
Because you feel like you're part of this underground. Like you get to know certain people, and I don't know. Don't quote me on this, but I don't think you're attached to a profile. Everybody's like anonymous all the time.
So it's like a free for all.
Yeah. So there's people that are like high profile people that post on there and nobody knows who they are, or people that are like active, like they can go back to, before somebody was an active shooter somewhere, like they posted on 4chan and like find this. And like, yeah, I think, the Trump, thing, I think he had a 4chan post at some point, it was like, watch out on whatever day it was. And, I'll have my wrath or something.
So a lot of darkness happening there.
Yeah, lots.
So Bianca loved anime, manga, Minecraft, the color pink, and emo fashion. She often had a really cool, bold color in her hair, a lot of times pink. She wore dramatic makeup and clothing. She posted webcam selfies on social media. Soon, she had thousands of followers on her various platforms, and while on Instagram, she would also discuss mental health and borderline personality disorder since she struggled with those things and could potentially help other people who, were going through that.
That's nice.
So Bianca attracted, and this is another word I had never heard of, male orbiters.
Oh, I never heard that.
So these are followers online. So this is basically when a user is following someone's life over social media, yet rarely or never speaking or interacting in real life. So if there is a face-to-face meeting with an orbiter, the person may back off from meeting again in real life, yet continue to silently observe their online life by continuing to like photos or watch stories.
So staying in their orbit with not ever coming into contact.
Like from a distance in real life, but fully immersed in the online world, but not at all in real life.
Like a stalker.
So those who say that they have experienced orbiting indicate that it feels very passive aggressive and a silent and lonely battle. So you might go on a date, connect with someone, they just completely ghost you, yet they're still there seeing what's going on in your life and what's happening, but nothing more than that. So that's what orbiting sounds like to me. So that's, Bianca, because she was a beautiful young lady, she attracted a lot of these male orbiters. So Bianca did have at least one in-person encounter with an orbiter and spent years running away from home and receiving intensive mental health therapy at various facilities. So she did have a lot of turmoil going on in her teenage years.
And not to mention online, it's a lot of like teenage boys and men, I mean, for some whatever reason. Because if you show that you're a girl, all of a sudden it's like a feeding frenzy. It's like, oh, girl, an e-girl, whatever, And not to say I said 4chan's a cesspool. There's really funny things on there too. It's kind of like a darker Reddit.
Okay.
So there's definitely good communities in there, but it sometimes can get really bad. But yeah, orbiters, I mean, all that stuff, that sounds terrible.
It does. And I'm just somebody that I don't do well with social media. I really do avoid it like the plague. It just leaves me feeling a little empty and lost inside. I don't like to see what everyone else is doing. I like to live in my own little bubble and do me and not compare myself to other people. So I'm not a good person when it comes to all of this online stuff. So in 2019, things began to settle down in the Devans household. Bianca was doing great. She went on to earn her high school diploma by home tutoring. She planned to begin college classes in the fall at Mohawk Valley Community College. She planned to major in psychology. It was her goal in doing this to help others who struggled with mental illness like she had. Bianca's grandfather, Frank, was so thankful to see the glow in his granddaughter's face again because it had been lost for a little while there. And that's truly heartbreaking when you love somebody and you see them struggling. So Frank was just so happy when his granddaughter was talking about college and her future, and she had that spark back inside of her. She had immersed herself in art, and she was even getting noticed as a promising young model. Kim indicated that her daughter's self-esteem was on the rise. Models and agents were giving her compliments, and she felt truly good about herself when she was modeling. But tragically, Bianca's life came to a sudden and violent end before she could ever move on to college and everything else that potentially lay ahead for the young woman. It was all taken away. So in the spring of 2019, Bianca met an orbiter. This is Brandon Andrew Clark. Brandon was a 21-year-old Lyft driver who connected with Bianca on Instagram in May of 2019, and they became fast friends. Brandon was born into an abusive household. He was moved to foster care where he was ultimately raised in the foster system. Brandon and Bianca shared many similar interests. He himself loved Pokemon and something that is called Lolicon. I'd never heard of this. This is a Japanese pop culture that's a genre of fictional manga. Is it manga? Manga?
I don't know. Either way.
Manga style young girl character. So I saw some images of this. It was a little strange to me.
Super hypersexualized.
Very, very sexualized.
Yeah.
These like images of cartoon little girl characters that are wearing lingerie. I thought that was very bizarre. They're portrayed in a very erotic manner. The disturbing part to me is that they're little girls. The ones that I was looking at were sitting around in lingerie, and that was enough for me to see.
Yeah, it's any way you want to go, but that's I know that area.
It's the young girl characters that are portrayed in this sexually suggestive way that I find very disturbing. First of all, they're animated, they're cartoons, they're not real, and they're young.
Well, another word you hear thrown around in this area is incels.
You're going to hear that word.
Okay.
We're going to talk about it. So Brandon and Bianca eventually did take the relationship offline. They did date for a short time, though not exclusively. And because Bianca she was focused at this point in time on going to college. She wanted to focus on her future and she didn't want to pursue a romantic relationship. So she chose to keep their relationship friendly and casual. And she was very clear about this with her intention. She wasn't leading Brandon on and making him think she wanted something more when she didn't. She established that.
Well, she sounds like a really unique girl.
Very unique and truly, I mean, just beautiful.
Yeah.
Like she was very willowy and thin and just striking. Like you would take notice of her if you saw her. And it sounds like her mom was right, that she was very intuitive and in tune with what she wanted. And again, she was clear about that. But yet Brandon did refer to himself as Bianca's boyfriend, but both she and her mother, Kim, they truly felt no sense of worry. They saw him as just an innocent person. He was obsessed with Bianca on social media. He really followed every place that she was. He saved her photos. He sent her messages. He was truly keeping tabs on her social media activities, and she was very active on many platforms of social media.
And just like stalkers, like stalking like people that are famous or whatever, like celebrities, you pretend to know them more than you actually know them, and you make them into this thing in your head that are like better than anything and the perfect girl or the perfect person. It's like nobody's perfect.
We're all just human beings. Like our kids will ask, like, if you could meet any famous person, and I'm like, I really don't care to very much. Like, I talk to them and like, I'd want to hear the insights and stuff, but it's not like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, they're human just like me.
Like, I love John Mayer. Oh, John Mayer. I'd just be like, oh, hey, so what are you up to, man?
Yeah, like, you're
writing-
awesome. Yeah, you're
I love your music.
Exactly.
You writing any new songs?
But it's just like something about following somebody from afar sometimes can be a little troubling. So according to Kim, again, this is Bianca's mom, Brandon often came around and she just truly viewed him as a goofy, nerdy boy next door. He even attended Bianca's high school graduation. He was over at their house a lot. So Kim never saw any red flags with Brandon. So when her daughter asked if she could go into the city with him for a concert, Kim didn't hesitate at all to agree. She thought nothing of it. So in fact, she actually took comfort in the fact that Bianca would be with Brandon because she trusted him. So Kim last saw her daughter on Saturday, July 13th, 2019, when Bianca headed to New York City with some friends to attend a concert by a Gothic singer named Nicole Dahlganger. So Kim said that Bianca was extremely excited since it was like her first real true adult concert that she'd be going into the city by herself with her friends. She tried on multiple outfits. She ultimately settled on wearing a black tank top with a plaid skirt, and she set out in Brandon's car for the 4-hour drive into the city. So Bianca touched base with her mom after the concert, and this is when she texted Kim to let her know that she was heading home. I think, what did I say? It was like a 4-hour drive or so. And, you know, again, Bianca had only just graduated from high school 2 weeks earlier. She was thankful for her newfound freedom. She was entering her adulthood and starting to, you know, tread from the nest more and more. So Sunday, July 14th, 2019 was a gorgeous day in Utica. The city was actually hosting their Boilermaker road race, which is a popular 15K road race where participants come from across the globe to run. And as first runners were beginning to cross the finish line, the Utica police detectives Brian Coramato and Michael Curley started to hear disturbing murmurs of a potential homicide that involved a horrific photo that was spreading throughout the world on social media. Specifically, Discord is where I think everything originated. So one of the callers indicated that they saw a photo of Bianca Devans and went on to say, "I'm hoping the girl is just bleeding badly and maybe still alive." People were uncertain if the photo was real or not. So as officers approached the Devans home, body cams were rolling as they arrived for a welfare check on the 17-year-old girl in question. So Kim Devans recalls hearing a knock on the door and an officer asking if this is where Bianca Devans lives. Bianca's younger sister, Olivia, was actually the person to answer the door, and she went on to tell her mom that the police were there and something was going on with Bianca. The police did not show Kim the photo of Bianca that they did have in their possession, but they told her that they feared that she might be in danger. They asked Kim if she could try to get a hold of her daughter, and Kim remembers being completely confused. You know, she last touched base with her daughter. She was going to be setting home from the city. Just last she knows, she was alive and well. She's just befuddled. I actually watched the body cam footage of this interaction.
Well, she's probably asking a lot of questions too. Like, why do you think she's not well? Like, what's going on? And
Just
they're like,
scary.
we just want you to check on her. You know, they don't want to show her that. And like, you know, she would break down immediately. I would think.
Right. So she wasn't entirely sure where Bianca was at that point in time. She called her daughter and the call ended up going to voicemail. So as she searched, or I should say, as the search for Bianca began, her friends became aware of the situation with the alarming photo in question, and they suspected and hoped and prayed that the photo would just be a hoax. After they learned that it was Brandon who posted it, they thought maybe he's just playing some kind of sick and twisted joke. It's not funny in any way, but maybe it's just a hoax. They assume he was making a sick joke and potentially trying to scare them. And according to reporter EJ Dixon on Discord, it is fairly common for users to post gory photos simply to get a rise out of people. So it was within the realm of possibilities that hopefully the photo was just fake. So however, when Brandon Clark called 911 himself, things turned very, very real very quickly. As the 911 dispatcher answered the call, he said, "My name is Brandon. The victim is Bianca Michelle Devans. I'm going to kill myself." He was eerily calm when he made this call. The officers who remained at the Devans home could hear this interaction. They heard about this call, and now they're suspecting that this is not probably a hoax, as they're standing in the Devans home speaking with this girl's mother.
So the police like learned about it as they were there?
Still there doing the welfare check, and they're listening to the radio.
It's like, officers, we just got a 911 call from this guy's name.
So they asked Kim if Brandon was Bianca's boyfriend, because now they're getting the word that he's making suicidal statements. They told her that he was indicating that he was suicidal and that he had hurt her daughter. Kim recalls that nothing was making sense to her because she never in a million years would have ever believed that Brandon would be capable of hurting her daughter because she trusted him. She said she felt as if she was in an out-of-body experience. She was shaking as she just tried to reassure herself that her daughter was fine. They would find her. If she needed help, they would get her help and she would be okay. That's what she was just telling herself over and over, unable to believe that her daughter could have been hurt by Brandon. So investigators turn their full focus now onto Brandon after he made this 911 call, who by this point had continued to post additional disturbing images of Bianca, and one had the caption, "I'm sorry, Bianca." So detectives knew that they needed to work quickly in order to find Bianca, hoping she would still be alive and they could potentially save her. Brandon was not telling the dispatcher where he was located initially, so they were trying to ping his phone. The dispatcher asked Brandon to stay on the line in hopes that police could pinpoint his exact location, and Brandon responded, "No, I'm not going to stay on the line with you. I'm going to be dead on the ground." So just before Brandon ended the call, he did tell the dispatcher his exact location. He told her he was at a dead-end road not far from where Bianca's home actually was. So when the first officer arrived to this location, they found Brandon's car parked ahead. They noticed that he was standing outside the car. He was armed with a knife. The officer had his gun trained on Brandon as he demanded that Brandon drop the knife. He screamed at him, "Where is the girl? Where is she?" And as the officer moved into position, Brandon slashed his throat with the knife and took a selfie while he was laying on the ground and captioned it, "Ashes to ashes." So backup arrived and additional officers began to engage with Brandon in front of his car. He's basically laying on the ground at this point. There was a brief struggle and he was eventually disarmed. They took his knife away and he was placed under arrest. By the time Detective Brian Coramato, who had been at the Devans home trying to do a welfare check, arrived, Brandon was actually being wheeled to an ambulance where paramedics were basically racing to save his life. He was transferred to the hospital. He had emergency surgery for his self-inflicted injuries. So in the meantime, investigators are at the scene of where Brandon's car is parked on this dead-end road, and they made the horrific discovery of Bianca's body, which was hidden beneath a tarp. Before police could even inform Kim of the devastating news, because they were on body cam saying this, they're like, "We have to get back to the house and let her mom know about what is going on because the news is now involved and photos are being posted and all of this." But before they could even get back to the house to talk with her, Kim had already learned the painful truth. Her daughter Olivia had been in the kitchen with her friend when Kim heard the most blood-curdling scream she could ever imagine hearing from her teenage daughter. She got a photo of her sister. Someone had texted Bianca's family the horrific photo.
What the hell's wrong with people?
What is wrong with people?
They want to be like the first ones almost, and like, probably like making it seem like a good thing. It's like
a good thing,
so they know, like informing them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, let the police take care of that.
So of course, Kim is hearing her daughter screaming. She's trying to figure out where Bianca is. She rushes into the kitchen, hears about this photo, and just recalls screaming over and over, "It's not her. It's not her. It's not my baby." Because she couldn't even stand to believe that not only could her daughter be viciously murdered at the hands of someone that they all truly trusted, but now there's images of what happened to her daughter out there for the world to see.
Everybody that wants to see can see it.
So investigators clearly knew who was responsible for murdering 17-year-old Bianca Devans, but now they needed to figure out why. Why did this happen? So they began at the crime scene. As they were learning more about Brandon, they came to realize that every single thing he did at the crime scene was planned and had some sort of special meaning to him. He had set this up.
Man, that guy was pretty deep, huh?
So Brandon had spray painted a cryptic message on the ground at the scene that read, "May you never forget me." So when the phrase was Googled, investigators learned that the message was taken from a series of Japanese comic books called Pun Pun that Brandon and Bianca often read together. So everything had a meaning. It wasn't just the statement, "May you never forget me." It actually came from somewhere.
And ashes to ashes
Yes.
and everything I'm sure you're about to say.
So the books are dark and violent and resemble a Japanese version of basically Romeo and Juliet. Music was also playing at the scene. It was coming from Brandon's car. They learned that he had utilized a Bluetooth speaker and programmed his phone to play a particular song on repeat. The song was Test Drive by Joji, which was about a person who is more invested in the relationship than the other person. So, you've got him spray painting a phrase that's from a dark book or comics that resemble Romeo and Juliet, and then he's choosing a song about an unbalanced relationship. So in order to better understand exactly what was happening between Bianca and Brandon that night, investigators began combing through their social media accounts and discovered that they had not been alone at the concert. And then, of course, they later pulled surveillance from the concert and they could see that they were joined by somebody else. So direct messages from Bianca's Discord account indicated that she had invited a new friend named Alex, who she would be meeting for the first time that night at the concert.
Boy?
And yes, it was a boy named Alex. Yeah. And she was worried in these texts that they could read that Brandon could become jealous about the situation.
Oh, I guarantee he would.
So prosecutors soon tracked Alex down. They wanted to hear his side of the story, what interactions he noticed that night. And Alex turned out to be very helpful in explaining the last moments that he had spent with Bianca. And it was clear that Brandon had not wanted Alex there. He felt that. So as they continued to look through Bianca's phone, they saw a message that Bianca sent after she left the concert with Brandon that read, "I think he saw me kiss you." So she sent that to Alex. She also sent a message to another friend on Discord about Brandon being so mad about the situation.
Well, yeah, because Brandon thinks you're like boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yes. So, even though she made it fully clear, she was transparent with him that was not the case. They were not exclusive. She wanted to keep it casual. She had her eyes set on her future. She was 17 years old and she was going to be starting college. She did not want to be tied down by somebody.
Yeah. I mean, she did all the right things. She was completely honest and upfront. And it just so happens that, the family all trusted this guy who clearly wasn't right.
So obviously, as investigators are starting the investigation, initially they were wondering, was this a snap thing? Was this a crime of passion?
No way.
But clearly not.
Yeah, with all
clearly
these planning.
not. So just before dawn, as Brandon and Bianca headed back to Utica, Brandon made an ominous post on social media. So he posted a photo of what appeared to be the New York State Thruway as he was driving. He snapped this photo and captioned it, "Here comes hell. It's redemption, right?" So investigators tried to put the pieces together in terms of what happened after this photo was taken. After Bianca's murder, overnight, investigators within the Utica Police Department conducted a forensic analysis of Brandon's phone, and nothing could have ever prepared them for what they found on this phone.
I can't imagine.
So they found that they were watching a horror film play out in real life. He had recorded the whole murder on his phone.
Oh, jeez.
So the room of detectives sat in absolute stunned silence, realizing that this was the most horrific thing they had ever witnessed in their entire life. Many of the details are so gruesome they couldn't even talk about what they saw. It appeared that Bianca was sleeping. She was in the back of the car. He had folded the seat down to flat. So he had actually laid it down and she was sleeping in the flat back position in the back seat. Brandon took the camera. He clipped it to one of the air vents in the front of his car. He then reached into the back seat. He collected a knife, which it had clearly showed that he had pre-planned this whole thing. And he hid the knife along the right side of the car, and then he proceeded to wake Bianca up because, again, she had been sleeping. So Brandon asked Bianca about her kiss with Alex at the concert, and she said that she was sorry. He told her that sorry wasn't enough, and Bianca reminded him that they weren't exclusive. She then asked him if he was ready to take her home, and then he reached down, he grabbed the knife, and it was clear at that point in time, Bianca had no idea that she was in danger at that point. She thought he was just confronting her and acting jealous.
Yeah.
She didn't think he would ever hurt her.
She didn't tense up or anything?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. So then Brandon viciously stabbed Bianca to death as he screamed at her, "Why did you make me do this?" As if it was something she had done to cause this. When he finished, he took the graphic photos of her body and posted them on social media, including Instagram, Discord, and 4chan. The photo showed Bianca in his car with blood spattered across her tank top. Her throat was slashed. She had been murdered sometime between about 5:47 a.m. and 6:40 a.m. So at 5:47 a.m., she messaged a friend, and by 6:40 a.m., the images had been posted. So they were obviously aware, the family members of Bianca were aware that this horrific video existed. Thankfully, they have not seen it because no one should ever have to see their loved one be viciously murdered. So Kim is fully aware that at the time that her daughter was being brutalized by somebody they trusted, she was home maybe 10 minutes away and had no idea that her daughter was in danger. And that's just a little detail that just haunts her continuously.
Of course, because if this monster could have just like thought differently for a half second, been like, I'll just do it another time or something. She could be home and safe. And yeah, man, so many ifs.
And in the video, they could see that Bianca fought for her life as Brandon ruthlessly killed her.
Scumbag.
It wasn't just the gory video that sickened investigators in terms of evidence in this case, but also the fact that they learned that Brandon was intent on killing Bianca even long before that night. This was well planned out before there was any Alex at the concert.
Yeah, that's, I guess, the questionable part. Like, was it like, did Alex set it off? You know?
Nope.
No, I guess it was just
Not
like, you were going to do this night all the time. Like,
yep.
You know, to that story. Like, it probably went from in his mind, like a beautiful love story to like a revenge kind of thing.
So Brandon was very calculated and meticulous in his planning. 2 days before he murdered Bianca, he utilized the Notes app on his phone, and he actually typed an evil checklist, which was basically a to-do list of things he needed to get in order to murder the girl that viewed him as a trusted friend, and also to stage the crime scene. So the checklist happened before he ever went to the concert, before he ever witnessed Bianca having an innocent kiss with another boy. And the items on this to-do list included set up speaker, tie rope, live stream, and last song ? He was still trying to figure out what song he wanted to play on repeat on the Bluetooth speaker in his car. So he set up the speaker, he chose his song. There were multiple disturbing internet searches that showed that he had researched ways to kill Bianca, how to choke someone out, how do you hit the carotid artery to kill someone. And again, this was 2 days before they went to the concert and he ever knew that this Alex existed. So this proved to investigators that this had not been a crime of passion. Brandon thought of every detail, and it's likely when he realized that Bianca did not share the same feelings that he did, that he made the decision to kill her. Brandon wanted to be with her, and she did not want to be anything more than his friend. No matter what Bianca said or did after that concert, Brandon was going to be sure that she wound up dead. And obviously he wanted this credibility, like to be this legend, to post these photos online. It wasn't just enough that he kills someone that trusted him, but he had to post these horrific images for everyone to see, including her family.
Unfortunately, you're a disturbed dork.
Oh, major. So 2 weeks after the murder, Bianca's family and friends came to the courthouse wearing pink, which was her favorite color. They waited for Brandon Clark to make his first public appearance. And when he was brought into the courtroom, Frank Williams, who is Bianca's grandfather, described him as looking pathetic. Brandon was officially charged with second-degree murder and pleaded not guilty, despite the fact that there was video evidence of him committing the crime.
Yeah, video that he took. That's where I was thinking, like, well, the bright side is that there's no way he's getting off on this.
So the defense was considering an extreme emotional disturbance defense, but authorities and Bianca's family knew otherwise.
Yeah, get the hell out of here.
They saw Brandon as who he was, simply just an evil person who wanted to murder someone. Yeah. Nothing more, nothing less.
They'll do it again if he gets a chance.
100%. So as the prosecution prepared for the trial, they had two goals in mind. Number one, get justice for Bianca. And number two, make sure that Brandon Clark can never hurt anyone else ever again.
Yes.
So in the meantime, Bianca's family, who was struggling clearly to grieve and try to cope with the horrific loss of their loved one, was faced with a vile campaign of hate that was brewing on social media. They were being targeted and as a result of her death. It was just like, it makes me like question humanity and what kind of people live in this world.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's disgusting. So they faced nonstop harassment that became a form of what is called psychological terrorism. Images of Bianca's bloody, lifeless body poured across social media, and it was clear that those that shared the photo did not view this 17-year-old as a human being who had a life and a family of people who loved her, but as some sort of object.
Like,
they did not
like
see her as a human being.
Like we're affecting people through the internet somehow. We're powerful and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, just gross.
The images were made into memes as well as jokes, and these jokes were not jokes. They were just simply meant to be incredibly cruel.
Well, there's these losers all over the world that, like, you can be like, oh, I have a dark sense of humor, but it's like,
no.
How dark are you going to get? Like, you got to know what's right and what's wrong. Like, I can enjoy a dark joke every once in a while, but it's like, this is like somebody's baby, and you're going to make memes and like make them feel bad. Like, if your whole point is to try to make somebody feel bad about something, maybe they were just trying to make each other laugh, but still, that's wrong.
This is a human being.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's disgusting.
Yeah.
There's humor. The word is humor. That's supposed to be funny. This is someone's tragic murder. So Kim Devans pleaded with social media companies to remove this unthinkable, images of her baby girl, knowing that if Bianca were alive, she would be so embarrassed, humiliated, and heartbroken by what was happening.
Unfortunately, you can't just do that. Maybe now with AI, it might be easier to track and like identify things, but like 4chan specifically, there's not moderators. You can kind of post anything.
So it's like a friggin' free-for-all.
It is.
So the images did not come down immediately. They stayed on Instagram and Facebook for at least a couple of weeks. Each time one came down, another would take its place, since these social media platforms don't have the infrastructure in place to prevent this from happening.
And not to mention, they're not made to take things down. They're made to get clicks and views. And so their algorithms are like, like everybody's sharing these things because it's unbelievable. I wouldn't want to look at it.
Hell
but
no.
There's definitely a section of people that do. And it's like, oh, have you seen this? Can you believe they did? Even like angry people might be like, oh, I can't believe somebody would post this. And then they're sharing and clicking and sharing and clicking.
Right.
And their algorithms are all happy, or their shareholders are happy. They don't give a rat's about the actual people.
So in response, some social media users attempted to replace the death photos with messages of love and hope that included images of clouds, bunnies, ribbons, or fan art of Bianca with hashtags in order to try to push the death images down in the search results. Despite this, Kim indicates that they continued to be subjected to online trolls that continued to send them the horrific photos. Kim received them, as well as her daughter Olivia, who decided to take a break from social media in order to avoid seeing these awful pictures of her beloved big sister. Along with the photos, there were messages of hate, as Bianca was being blamed for her ruthless murder. Kim described it as traumatizing to see people saying such awful things about Bianca, who was her baby, and she did not deserve this horrifically cruel end to her short life. And then even after death, she was being tormented.
And I know exactly the type. It's these losers that can't get a girl, and they're like blaming the girl because no girl will talk to them because they're losers. So it's just like a horrible cycle.
So direct messages and text messages continued on to the family, And behavioral scientist Stephen Cremando believes that those who are responsible for the online attacks on Bianca's family belong to a community of online men known as incels. I've heard you say that word before, but even in this case, I'm like, wait, what is an incel?
It's a good way to find out if somebody's like really knows online or not, like, just online culture.
I'm clueless.
And it's a fantastic, like, you're going to say what it means and everything. So it's a fantastic description for these losers.
So incel is short for involuntarily celibate.
And it's hilarious.
And these are men who are 21 years of age and older and have gone 6 months or longer without any sexual activity, and it's not by their own choosing.
Wait, 6 months?
That's 6 months or longer without any kind of sexual contact.
I mean, that's not that long if you're like single,
but it's celibate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, totally. I mean, for me, it's like years. Like, these people won't like touch a girl for like a decade.
Well,
basically.
it's at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Let's play it real here. These probably have never been touched before.
Absolutely.
So because incels can feel so badly cheated by life, they choose to become obsessive with the idea that they need to strike back for the unfairness that they have been dealt. So according to Cremando, incels view themselves as victims who are in a never-ending struggle to win the affection of attractive women who they refer to as Stacies. Have you ever heard that?
No.
So these women that they see online that they're attracted to, they call Stacies. They fully believe that they have no chance with these Stacies at all. And Bianca would definitely have been considered a Stacy.
Because she's pretty and confident and can tell you what's what. You know, she's not just this like little loser that like these incels can get and like, ugh.
So Brandon Clark did not identify as an incel. I find that strange. So people say like, I'm an incel.
No, I think it's a derogatory term.
Okay, because there are self-described incels.
Yeah, and I'm sure there is, because that's crazy. But like usually it's a derogatory. It's like, you're just an incel, you know. Or there's also all these other terms. But yeah, usually for me, when I've seen it Reddit, it's like, oh, a bunch of incels are doing this.
Okay, so he didn't identify as such, but he was celebrated by this dark community for what he did to Bianca. And this dark, hateful community celebrated Brandon. Some wrote, he did the world a favor. She was disgusting and treated so many like they were worthless. She was the one who was worthless. Well done, Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark is a legend.
So part of the problem is that we're even talking about these losers. Like, these are bottom of the barrel human beings, you know, that are blaming everybody else for their loser problems. Maybe take a shower, maybe work out, maybe eat well.
Maybe step out from behind your computer screen and go out into the light of day and interact with people.
Yeah, no. But let's play the victim card and blame everybody else for our problems.
And like, there's nothing more frustrating than people who do nothing to better their situation and blame the world for the situation that they're in.
Yeah, and that's what these guys do.
Yes. So there is a history of this shared hate among incels that have previously led to murder. In 2014, a 22-year-old self-identified incel went on a deadly rampage in Isla Vista, California, and 6 people ended up being murdered. The intelligence community believes that there have been more than a dozen mass murders in North America that have resulted in 50 deaths related to incel ideology. So, I mean, it's considered to be like a potentially dangerous community.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Stephen Cremando feels that those on this extreme end of the spectrum of incels are absolutely capable of murder, and because of that, it is now recognized as a terrorist threat.
Good.
The response to Bianca's murder by the incel community served as a wake-up call for other young women who are very prevalent online and are cute and engaging and are known as Stacies.
So it's kind of like anything else, like a terrorist community, like, you know, any terrorist community, you can think people get into those terrorisms, you know, those terrorist groups because they hear something and then they feel they're part of a group.
Yes,
and then it's like
they belong to something.
A group think. And then it's like, yeah, actually, let's kill all these innocent people. And it's like, no, like, how does it start? You just feel like you're part of something.
Yes. And these are people that probably in life aren't often part of something.
No.
So they're celebrating the fact that now they have a group of people that think like them.
Because they don't shower, they smell bad, they're greasy. Like, nobody wants to talk to these people. They're disgusting.
Yeah, so, you know, other girls that were around Bianca's age group and prevalent online, they started to worry, like, I could be the next target. So as Bianca's family prepared for the trial, they feared that they would be forced and subjected to watching this murder video in court. Kim realized that her last memory of her daughter was Bianca that was full of life. She was excited. She was getting ready to go to the concert. She did not want to be traumatized by the brutal attack of her daughter in her last terrifying and painful moments of life. Shortly before the trial began in February of 2020, Brandon Clark pleaded guilty to Bianca's murder, and this then would spare her family from hearing and seeing the details of her murder. He said, "I know that sorry is not enough. I know it won't take back what I did." However, Kim Devans was not buying the fact that this ruthless man, who was not only responsible for ending her daughter's life, but also for recording and posting the horrific images, was suddenly trying to protect them from further pain. She was not buying it. And Kim may have been correct in this belief, as before sentencing, Brandon yet again changed his mind and indicated that he wanted to go to trial. It was clear that he was playing a game with everyone and only 5 months after pleading guilty to Bianca's murder, he went back to court in hopes of changing his plea back to not guilty, thus facing a trial. So the Devans family were infuriated. They were disgusted with this request, having already been subjected to so much pain and anguish, not just with the death of Bianca, but also all the aftermath of hate and just disgustingness that followed.
Well, I was going to say, it doesn't make sense that he would just want them to, live better. And
this is not a guy that cares. So Kim knew why Brandon now wanted to go to trial. He had learned that there were media and production companies interested in Bianca's story who wanted to be able to tell his side of the story.
Oh my God.
And obviously this is what he wants. He laid on the ground, literally holding up the camera, taking a selfie of himself with his neck bleeding.
If anybody gave this guy any sort of money or anything, like they don't deserve anything good in life.
So months later, Brandon took the stand to plead his case, where he blamed his former attorney, Luke Niebusch, for not visiting him enough in prison and pressuring him into pleading guilty. Niebusch, who was a well-respected public defender, took the stand and said that these accusations were absolutely untrue. He said, "I went to the Oneida County Jail 15 times prior to his plea. There were moments where I spent 4 or 5 hours with him. There were moments where I probably spent 2, maybe an average of 3. Niebusch went on to elaborate that he actually had been the one to encourage Brandon to plead not guilty and go to trial, but it was Brandon who refused. So Brandon's just lying. Brandon made claims that because he was a first-time offender, he had no knowledge of the legal system or court proceedings. Thankfully, the judge denied Brandon Clark's request to withdraw his guilty plea, and on March 16th, 2021, nearly 2 years after Bianca's murder, he was facing sentencing. Of course, things took more time because this was all going on during the pandemic. So Bianca's younger sister, Olivia, gave a statement in court at the time of sentencing and indicated that she was traumatized by the image of her big sister's death being shared on social media, being used as a profile picture, and being sent to her. She struggles to meet new people out of fear that they could be capable of hurting her as Brandon hurt Bianca. Each night as she tries to fall asleep, all she can see is the images of her sister's death. And at this point in time, Olivia was 17 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her, just as Bianca should have, and that was the age that Bianca's life was ended. So, Kim Devans and Frank Williams had been eagerly awaiting the moment that they could face Bianca's killer. Kim described the unimaginable pain that goes with the death of a child, which is a pain that time will never heal. She said that Bianca had always promised to stay with her because she knew that her death, or what her death would do to her mom. No mom should ever have to face losing their child, and at the hands of somebody they trust, and that it's spread across the world is just beyond thinkable. And now, obviously, this is a promise that Bianca can no longer keep to her mom, that she'll stay with her because of Brandon. So Frank spoke and said, "Brandon, for the cruel manner in which you took my granddaughter's life, for the total disregard you had for a human life, for the callous act in which you posted the pictures of her murdered body on social media to gratify your own selfish purposes, you, Brandon, deserve to spend the rest of your life in prison." Before the judge read his sentence, Brandon gave a statement and said, "I hate myself for what I did. I am so sorry that I put everyone through this. I'm so sorry that I put Bianca through this. I wish I could apologize for her and just apologize and take it back, but..." And then he just stopped talking and looked down, shaking his head. Bianca's family did not believe a word or a shred of his remorse and knew that he was just using it to add to his own agenda, trying to make himself the victim, making it all about him. The judge was also unmoved by his apology and gave him the maximum sentence for murdering Bianca, which was 25 years to life in prison. Bianca's family realized that Brandon will only be in his 40s after his 25 years is up.
Why is it 25 years? Like, he did it like it was planned. Like, this should be like a capital murder thing, right? Like, I don't know what capital murder is, but like whatever the highest murder is, this should be it.
Yeah, it should be something about the posting of the photos
premeditated, posted everything afterwards. Like, this is the worst kind of murder. Like, I don't understand.
So they realize that their fight is not over because after 25 years, this guy again, who will only be in his 40s, will face the ability to get out of prison. Yes, could he be there for the rest of his life? Yes, but there is the chance that he can get parole and get out and be free.
Be dangerous.
And this is a very dangerous person, and they know that once it comes to that date, they're going to have to fight to keep him there. So Bianca's family realized, I already said that. Bianca's family have taken their grief into action. They have worked with local politicians to get Bianca's law passed, and this would hold social media companies accountable for violent and graphic content that they allow on their platforms, hoping that what happened to them never happens to another family. They want to prevent death photos like Bianca's from being put on social media. They've also established a scholarship in Bianca's name that will go to a student to help adolescents with mental health struggles, just like Bianca struggled with. And that's something that Bianca would have wanted, because her mom said even in the midst of all of the pain that Bianca herself was going through, she always had her sights set on helping other people. That's just the kind of person she was. She always wanted to help other people, and that's why she wanted to major in psychology when she went to school. So that's why it's important for her mom to give other people the chance.
Seemed like an awesome girl.
Totally. So Kim wants her daughter to be remembered for her smile, her bright spirit, and her huge and caring heart. Bianca always looked to help others. Sorry.
It's okay. The other thing I'm thinking about is this will be her sister's fight her whole life now. And Olivia's going to be the one responsible to make sure this scumbag stays in jail. And she's got to think about it every single day of missing her big sister and keeping this jerk where he belongs.
Yeah, it's so sad to me because like the line I'm going to read is that she always wanted to help others. Even when she was struggling to help herself, she always wanted to help others. And it's like not only just the fact of how she was ruthlessly killed, that's like a tragedy in itself, but to think that there's people out there which would think it would be okay to share images of a human life like ending. It's just like what kind of a world are we living in that there are people that exist that would make a meme into the worst thing that could ever happen to a family? Like how can you possibly spin that into a joke is just beyond me. And I'm not going to spiral down the fact that I think that humanity is like a horrible thing, because there's more good in the world than there's bad, but it's just sad that bad exists, that this could happen.
And it gets magnified because
it does.
Nobody's talking about, oh, somebody helped an old lady across the street. They're talking about, oh, this person got attacked. And
that's why people wanted to spread messages of love to push Bianca's photos down. And I think that's the right response, is not trying to hate, battle hate with more hate. That's just something that I don't agree with. So, and that's why I respect the Devans family and that they're trying to bring good out of this horrific thing that happened to them.
Yeah, and pass laws.
Yes.
And I totally agree. These social media companies are more than able to identify these sort of things. Now, maybe not initially when the first image is posted, but once you get notification, oh, there's something's being shared that's a horrible tragedy.
Yeah.
You can put it through your AI, whatever processor. I know enough about technology now. AI is very powerful right now. You can identify any picture, any meme that has this image in the background and make sure it's not posted, and that person gets suspended for a week or two.
Or
they can
forever.
They can 100% do that. I heard it recently on a Huberman podcast. Somebody was like, they all these social media companies have it. They just want the eyeballs. That's why they don't.
They do, which is disgusting.
So our politicians need to step up.
Not realize that these are human beings beings on the other end of this. It's not just about money. Like, when did everything get to be about money? It sickens me.
Any politician that's not for that is, they try to say, well, it's freedom of speech or whatever.
It's not.
I mean, it is.
This
but
is somebody's little girl.
I think 90% of us can agree this shouldn't be out on social media.
And you know what made me shake my head is, like, we have been shadow banned on TikTok before because we edited a video with like a photo of our podcast or something.
We tried to make it because you don't get paid on TikTok unless your video is a minute. So
and I accidentally made it under a minute. So Mike modified it to boost it above the 60 seconds and we got shadow banned.
Like, they'll do that right away, right? They'll take it off because you're trying to make some money from them.
I was like, isn't that ironic that it took weeks for them to remove these images, yet we got immediately shadow banned for manipulating a video to be over 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It just shows where the money is where things happen. That's why people police officers and teachers, they don't get paid a lot because there's no money to be made there.
So it's so backwards.
It is.
So in January of 2022, the New York State Assembly passed a version of Bianca's law, which criminalizes posting, sharing, or publicizing personal images with intent to degrade or abuse under certain circumstances. When Bianca had her darkest of days and struggled with her mental health, Kim said that she made her daughter a promise that if she fought to live, Kim would never leave her side. And she said, as part of honoring Bianca's memory, I will always keep that fight alive. Despite their fight, though, the Devans family to this day continue to receive graphic photos from Bianca's murder, further being traumatized and damaged after the loss of Bianca. And that is not only the murder of Bianca Devans, but everything that happened afterwards because of these photos. And the fact that this family just can't be left the hell alone to grieve the loss of Bianca is just beyond.
Yeah, these are subhumans.
Yeah, who are these people? Where do they come from? What gutters do they crawl out of?
Right.
Like what's going on in your life that you could do this to people?
It's a low portion of their life. And it's kind of like going back to being an infant or a toddler, where toddlers and infants, they just like to get some kind of reaction out of the world. So they'll knock something over, a vase, it smashes, but they're like, oh, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So these idiots are doing the same thing. They're like, oh, look what I did. And so the worst part is when they're on the news, like these random shooters, we should never mention their names.
Right.
We should make laws be like, their name should not be shared. Like, their images should not be shared unless you're looking for them. If you're looking for them and they're, somewhere out there, sure. But if they're dead, leave them dead. Don't say their names. We shouldn't know the name of the guy that just shot at, the former President Trump.
Right.
We shouldn't know his name. Like, that should be just kept. I shouldn't know his face. Like, this is making him famous.
They want that attention.
Exactly. It's like feeding. And then all the other dorks are like, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. It's only feeding it.
Yeah, and I've never, ever posted a negative comment on anyone's anything because why would I? Why would I want to hurt somebody? Like, I don't care if it's a celebrity. I don't care who it is. I would never say something disparaging to somebody online. That's just so gross. And honestly, that's why I don't ever read any comments on TikTok. I don't need to see people's hateful remarks or potentially hateful remarks. I don't know. Maybe they're not there about me. Well, that's not going to help me.
Yeah. And even reviews online, like 90% of them are fantastic. But every once in a while, it's like, or something on TikTok, like, you should do this. It's like, you should stop watching. Just keep going.
I think somebody said I should get bangs.
And somebody said, stop showing your face. And I was like, you don't have to see the face if you just keep scrolling.
Stop showing your face.
It's like, what? Not because just they're like, it's distracting. It's like, okay, whatever. Keep going. Somebody said something
move
about,
along.
I think on the YouTube, somebody said, your pillows make me nervous because we're balancing things. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't know why everyone has to feel like they need to share their opinion. Just keep it to yourself.
On YouTube, somebody mentioned once that these are, the window things behind us are a little off center or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's how our room is. And I think it's kind of cool. I think it's interesting. An element of interest. So I don't know. I'm sorry.
I mean, opinions are like a-holes. We all have them. Just keep them covered. Keep them to yourself.
And they all stink after some kimchi.
They all stink. Kimchi should be banned. I'm sorry if you're a fan of kimchi, but when Mike pulls out the bag of kimchi, I lose my ever-loving mind. It smells so bad. I've never smelled a rotting corpse before, but I assume kimchi might be up there with that smell.
And it sounds like a tugboat's going through our house.
So I was sitting on the couch last week or something. I was like, what is that smell?
You're like, it better not be kimchi.
And our daughter's like, kimchi.
Bingo.
I'm like, you take that to the garage and you eat it in there.
Oh, I threw it away when I was done with it, and I made sure to steal it just so it didn't keep on
And if
smelling.
you think I'm joking, I'm not joking. That kimchi can only be consumed in the garage. Outside, do it on the patio, the garage. I don't care if you go onto the roof and eat that kimchi. Do not eat it under this roof when I am present.
Okay, and just so you know, I'm going to continue eating it in the kitchen.
And I will tell you, not long ago, Mike made a lunch of kimchi, sardines, salmon patty, and broccoli.
Yeah, and probably some mustard and stuff, too.
All at the same time.
All very healthy for my
in
gut.
our kitchen. Like, what kind of monster does this sort of thing?
It was good and delicious and a lot of omega-3s to keep me healthy. So
I'll
sorry.
give you some omega-3s with some chia seeds. They don't stink. They don't bother me.
Hey, whatever.
Have some walnuts.
Yeah.
Take a fish oil pill. It's not my problem.
Thank you so much for sharing Bianca's story.
Yeah, just a terribly tragic story. And I'm so sorry for her family. And, you know, Bianca just seemed like a true amazing girl that really got through a lot of struggles.
Yep.
So thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate the heck out of each and every one of you. And like Mike mentioned, we do have a lot of bonus content available. I don't know. I think maybe somewhere upwards of 70 episodes or something like that.
Yeah. If you like what we do, you're in for a treat. Go ahead and become a subscriber somehow.
Yeah, we'll welcome you with open arms. And then check us out over on YouTube. If you like what you see, subscribe, maybe leave a nice comment.
Yep.
And just try to be positive towards people in the world. Even if you don't know someone, if they're a stranger, just keep your negative thoughts to yourself. We all have them. Trust me, I can be a real a-hole sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
As I said, I told the person with the house that was saying they're being monitored, I said, oh, F off. So I'm not perfect at all, but just try to keep the negativity just to yourself, shake it off, go for a run, and then post something nice.
Right.
So we will be back on Wednesday with another bonus episode and Sunday with a regularly scheduled episode. And until next time, bye.